So, as I promised yesterday, today we have Stratovarius Elements Part 2, the album review, and let me just say, big fucking mistake. I should have done everything yesterday, like I just should have done that, because to be frank, yeah, this is quite literally a part 2 to the album. This is not one of those part 2 where the album is like different or goes in a different direction. No, this is literally just part 2. It's the same album pretty much. It's the same thing. Right, and look, I'm not complaining, I was vibing with it just as I was yesterday. However, for a review, let's be honest, I don't really have much to say. Like, again, it was just like, yeah, it's the second part of the album. That's it, Like, I felt it was more of a, maybe not as ethereal at points. Like, I felt it was a bit, quote-unquote, darker, but not that much. Like, it was just a little bit, and it didn't have as much, I guess, development. I guess in a way, I would say that this album is a bit of a leftover from what they didn't do in part 1, or what they had created for part 1 that didn't fit in or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was still pretty fucking good, That's pretty much as I have to say it. Like, if you enjoy part 1, you're gonna enjoy part 2. That's pretty much how it goes. I didn't write anything for this because, again, I didn't have much to write. It's just the same thing. I should have reviewed the albums together, and I didn't. There were at least like two things, I guess, because I want to talk about. Number one, there was a song. I don't remember the song because, again, I didn't write anything down. But there was a song where at the end they were talking about like the song. Like, the band members were just talking about the song, just as a little skit. Sometimes bands do that, and they used to do that, and they did that there. Personally, as I mentioned yesterday and as I mentioned a few days ago, I'm not a huge fan of like skits, especially spoken ones and whatnot. And I do feel like, as much as I found it endearing when it comes to, people understanding that these are just musicians that are, sort of creating music and having fun with the band or whatever, at the same time, it's like, I didn't, like, let's face it, I didn't exactly enjoy it too much, because it's not necessarily that I didn't enjoy it, but I just don't think it contributed a lot to the song. Again, it's really endearing when it comes to the band, but when it comes to the song, I just feel it was a bit of a letdown. And then the last song of the album, Liberty, it was actually a really nice way to close out the album. I felt it was very, it was more, or I guess less speed rather, because, especially the first part of the album, or I guess Elements Part 1, was actually very high octane, it was super, like, heavy, not heavy necessarily, but more like fast paced. It was more in your face. Part 2 was a bit more laid back, and that's why it contributed to this more, I guess, darker atmosphere, I would say. But yeah, essentially this sort of, closing song of just everyone is tired, but it's sort of the triumphant song. It's the we've done it, we finally reached the end type thing of the journey. And it was a really enjoyable song. I think, honestly, as a way to close the entire thing, really good. As for the transition, when it came to yesterday, because I was like, oh, I don't know about the transition. Yeah, the transition is like kind of dark. It does create, because the first song on this album is Alpha and Omega, and it does sound a bit darker than anything they've done in the part 1. So it's a nice transition. Like, it's almost a change of scenario, a change of set almost. Where, yesterday was more, again, like, yesterday's album felt more ethereal, more magical, where today felt a bit darker. It's still super ethereal, it's still, like, magical and whatnot. It has pretty much all of the same vibes as yesterday, as I talked about, feeling epic, and, the instruments being really good, it being really catchy, it's power metal, everything feels super epic and whatnot. But it did feel a little bit darker tone, and especially, like, a lot of the songs were more 4 to 6 minutes in length, rather than, having 2 or 3 that were like 10 plus. But it was also still only 9 songs long, so, it just clocks in around like an hour and something. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah, again, I wish I had more to say, but it's just the same thing as yesterday, except, a little bit darker. That's it, like... Again, if you like yesterday, you like today, I like today, although I'm, maybe it's because it's today, but I did vibe more with yesterday's album than today, and as a result, I think my vibe meter is telling me like a 7 out of 10, yeah, 7 out of 10 is fair, I think. I'm just making all of these scores on the fucking spot, and I don't think people realize it, but I don't write any of the scores down. I just I'm recording the audio and then I go, yeah, sure, can be this score, which means it's really funny because then I'm like, wait, what score did I actually give it? Because I don't even remember. But yeah, 7 out of 10 seems fair. It's pretty much the part 2 to yesterday's album.